Zaumiel Darkhold is the level 44 leveling dungeon in A Realm Reborn. For those of you who haven't gone through this particular hellish experience, from here to 50 is easily the most painful part of A Realm Reborn leveling. It's comparable with the pre-15 grind when you don't have group content to do and instead have to rely on fates, hunting logs, side quests, and all manner of other fairly boring content to drip feed you XP. During the first draft of this list, I actually made a point of saying that Darkhold was here more due to my personal bias than objective criticism. After going back and running it through a few times, I think it's safe to say that this was absolutely fucking incorrect. This dungeon is easily worthy of being placed in the hellscape of F tier for a ton of reasons that we'll get into later on. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this one, so let's just get started with the breakdown. The first trash area has a few important gimmicks for later, most prominent of which is that the first boss will be flying around and slapping the entire party with absolutely massive damage. The way to avoid this is by standing in a crystal field area projected by, well, these big ass crystals. Doing so will give anyone standing there a buff, which significantly reduces the damage they'll take. This is a bit of a double-edged sword though, as it also reduces the amount of damage that the trash will do, effectively forcing the healer into a green DPS role. I know some people like to play healers like this, but for those of us that actually enjoy keeping people alive, it's kind of annoying to be forced to just sit there and spam AoEs the entire time. The other mechanic is gonna be a sticking point for me. So in this first area, and in the final trash area, there are these weird magic circles on the ground. These are locks that require players to stand in them for a certain amount of time before they unlock. Now we're gonna have to talk about something that's a bit deep here. Let's talk about game design! Waiting is an important tool in game design, but it can't just be empty waiting. You need to use it to enhance the experience for the player. A good example of good waiting is the chest opening animation in Ocarina of Time and later Zelda games. I know another significantly more accomplished internet funny man once made a point of saying that the waiting in this is bad, but I harshly disagree on that point. See, the Ocarina of Time style of waiting isn't just sitting there while nothing happens. The whole point is showmanship. The camera sweeps around Link as he digs into the massive chest that's bigger than the normal ones, indicating that something of significant value is hidden inside. He reacts to the thing that he can see, but the audience is still building anticipation for it. They even play that incredibly famous music over the whole thing, which reflects the player's building anticipation until they finally see the big item. Yes, the player was technically speaking just sitting there not engaging with gameplay, but they were waiting in the same way that a child waits to see what's in that big present under the Christmas tree. Part of the fun is in the wait. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about why the Darkhold magical lock waiting is so fucking bad that it makes me want to gouge my eyes out with a rancid dog food can lid. There is no showmanship to it. It's just empty waiting with no reward at the end except being able to move forward. There's no engaging with the core gameplay loop, like there would be if you had to fight a monster while standing in that spot. Ignore the footage. It's literally just X amount of time that the dungeon taxes from your lifespan. These locks are easily one of the single worst concepts ever implemented into 14, and the fact that some of these are optional is even worse because new players will stand on them for no reason. The specific one I'm talking about is on screen right now. It opens up a nearby door that has a treasure chest inside that rewards a single player in the party with a trash tier potion that will be abandoned in less than a few levels. Please, for the love of all things holy, just don't worry about the optional ones and follow your party. No one wants to spend any more time in Darkhold than they have to. Alright, now we get to move on to the first boss. Winged Mike Wazowski here can only be damaged when he's in the Crystal Aura. However, each of the crystals slowly lose power, and when they finally run out, another crystal somewhere else in the arena will light up. Drag the boss between these and kill his ads, and you'll be moving on in due time. Also, pro tip, you can dodge his frontal cone AoE by turning your character away from him. There's no footage of this because I'm running range DPS right now, but trust me, it works. This is true of any attack that has this eye symbol on it, so keep that in mind for future content. The second trash area is the stuff of my nightmares. It doesn't have any of those godforsaken locks, but it is the location in the dungeon that I've wiped the most in. See, the area is set up as a giant hill with several layers on it. The party only needs to travel across the top, but there's trash all over it and so many dead ends. However, the dead ends aren't the most terrible part of this one. One of the types of enemies the party will fight here is a giant fucking frog. If you're around this point in the story, you've likely visited Mordona already and developed a healthy hatred for this enemy model. See, whenever you aggro the frog, they'll do their best Scorpion impression and drag you directly to them. Then the froggy fucker will start charging a point-blank AoE. If you get hit by this, you get knocked back a good distance. and this AoE is pretty damn big. It covers a lot of the area at the top of the hill, coincidentally, and if anyone gets hit by it, they get sent all the way down the side of the hill, aggroing every single damn monster along the way. Naturally, most people will try to run back to the party at this point. However, they'll also be bringing an absolute shitload of completely fucking livid trash. If the tank isn't paying close attention or is relatively new to tanking, they're liable to get absolutely fucking demolished by this wave of angry monster meat, at which point the wave will divert and wash over the rest of the party, causing a wipe. God help you if the tank is the one to fall off the side, since that means they'll get mobbed by the swarm of monsters and die instantly, only for the horde to come surging up the side of the hill and kill everyone. I seriously hate this area, but at least it makes for some fun imagery. Also, when you're leaving, go through this cave. Anywhere else just leads to more trash and shitty treasure chests. Boss 2 is basically a non-entity. The main mechanic here is that his buddies up top will throw a lot of rocks at the party in the form of small circle AoEs, so just dodge those and kill the boss. The third trash area is just as awful as the other two, but for its own special reason. There's just one giant room full of roaming enemies, a bunch of which are ranged, so the tank is going to have to do some tricky maneuvers to get them in the pack for proper AoEing. This is an absolute pain to pull off, especially for big pulling, since the two packs of ranged mobs are on the opposite sides of the room, meaning you'll have to slowly bring them together by running around the room. Oh, and guess what? There's more fucking timed locks in here, so you need to stand on them until they deactivate. But this time, there's the added twist that the locks are located right next to some corrupted crystals, which periodically throw out point-blank AoEs. So you actually need to tank the hits while standing on the lock. Many new players will move out of the AoE when it comes up, which is a natural reaction since the game has been training players to move out of AoE since the very beginning. But if you do, it resets your progress on the lock. It also ensures that you can't just have someone standing on the lock while the rest take out the trash, since that player will need direct attention for the healer to not die, so you basically have to do this after all the mobs are killed. I am aware that the footage on screen has a tank just standing in all of it, but this tank and healer are quite experienced, so they're able to pull that off. Yes, all this nonsense is required to move on. I know I'm just complaining about a few wasted seconds here, but it's really just bad design. The final boss is a huge demon dude with three notable mechanics. He'll periodically say,
Anyway, I started sashing.
Then flail his swords around him and deal moderate damage to anyone directly adjacent, so keep your distance once he starts quoting Always Sunny. His main mechanic is that as his health decreases, he will tether himself to one of three big crystals. This will render him invulnerable and requires the party to go and break the crystal while he throws out long column AoEs towards the party. Once all the crystals have been broken, he will start breathing Void Pitch at everyone's feet, which are persistent AoE zones that explode if they're stepped in, so be careful and don't step in the evil magic puke. At this point, the boss should basically be dead, so congrats on clearing Darkhold. There's a lot of reasons for Darkhold to be here in the exact middle point of F tier. While the bosses aren't painfully terrible, every single trash section is a new exploration in tedium. From the timers and boosted defenses in the first one, to Hell Hill in the second one, and the final timer section combined with ranged adds at the end. That's not even talking about the aesthetic. Holy shit, this dungeon is ugly. It's a generic underground dungeon with one unique selling point, and even then that USP is pretty boring. There's ruined structures and corrupted crystals jutting out everywhere throughout this dungeon, and the crystals are constantly exploding as well. I think the intention here was to try and do what Ferrosirius would later succeed in doing. This was supposed to be an ordered place that has undergone some sort of dangerous transformation after Bahamut carpet-bombed the entire continent with irradiated magical nukes. However, this doesn't really work here, because a cave isn't really a place that I'd consider to be ordered. It works significantly better in Ferrosirius because that dungeon is an actual fucking building with purpose to it, and not just some dingy hole in the ground. It's also bafflingly bad that every time I see this one come up on leveling roulette, I honestly just consider skipping. To be frank, if you're grinding through your mid 40 levels, I would highly recommend just skipping this and the next dungeon and just heading into Palace of the Dead until you hit 50. It is not worth the effort to go through Darkhold once, let alone multiple times as you grind for that sweet, sweet XP. Anyway, that's about it for this one, and hey, congrats! We're now past the halfway point in F tier. That means we're headed towards the real stinkers, so I hope you join me in seeing what is somehow worse than this shit. Do you think that I'm still letting my own bias stick Darkhold down here, or do you think it deserves this spot? Heck, do you think it deserves to be even lower? What dungeons do you think are waiting for us up ahead? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, please consider doing the funny YouTube stuff, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And remember, forge ahead.